welcome to the walkthrough for my my mini album using Simple Stories Jingle All the Way. This paper is so cute. I absolutely just love it. I actually had not intended on doing a tutorial for this album. I actually had made this album for a friend and I just loved how it came out, so I took measurements and a bunch of pictures and shipped it off and then came back and recreated it. So on the front here we've got a shaker. I did use the frames that Simple Stories has for, they used to just be with kind of their simple vintage lines, and they've started adding them to other lines, which I think is awesome because they are so much fun. So on the front here we've got one of the frames with a pocket added to the back so that we can get a photo mat in here. And we also did the same thing with the shaker, that there is a photo mat in here that you can add a picture to, and then, or a couple of pictures because that is that split frame. And then they'll be in there behind your little shaker there. When we open it up, I did use, I think, 4 sets of magnets in this, 3 or 4, I'm not sure. I've used the ephemera pieces. I have the puffy stickers, which I absolutely love. I have chipboard. I also have the sticker book that goes with this collection, and I've still got a ton left in that. This one opens up like this, and you've got a good pocket in here for pictures and lots of space on the various elements for pictures there. This is just one of the cut-aparts backed on black artisan cardstock to hold those little flaps closed. And again, you've got a pocket and you've got lots of room for pictures there. Here is another one of the frames. This is open on the side here, and this is actually a pocket as well. Let me grab something here. Yeah, so this is actually a pocket as well that the frame sits on top of, and then the frame is open on the side here, which was actually a mistake on my part. I meant to leave it open on the top, but that is open there so you can get another picture. And I did back all of the frames with acetate just because I think it looks really nice. Over here we've got a magnet holding this flap closed, so this one goes up and down, and you've got some smaller ones that go out, and you've got lots and lots of space for pictures. In fact, the way this closes, you actually could put some loose ones in here and they would stay put. This was something a little bit different. So in this collection there is an entire sheet of just tags, and they are tags like front and back. So I just cut all of those apart, and I made like these little kind of tag books and then little pockets that they slip down into on this page, and I just left one of them hanging out the front. Again, I've got another one of the pockets, or I'm sorry, the frames that I have left open. This one's actually open on the side and on the top to slip a picture in there, and that also is sitting on top of a pocket. On this side, I've got some of the cut-aparts, and then rather than this collection having matching solids, they actually have these prints that go with it. So there's red, green, and black, and then they've got the plaid on one side and then the gingham on the other, and I absolutely loved that. I actually bought extra of that because I loved those papers. Over here we've got a cut apart that I have matted on both sides. I've got just a little tuck spot here, and then we've got a not quite 4x6 waterfall, but almost 4x6. You would have to take about 1/8 of an inch off your pictures here. The overall dimensions of the book are 6.5 by 8.5 with a 2-inch spine. And then again, we've got the frame that is open on the top there, and this one is open on the side here. I've got just a little insert that I did not mat because if you're going to put pictures in here, that's going to make it a little bit thicker, that you would want to not necessarily mat it until you're actually putting pictures on it. And then this flips up, and then we've got some stacked pockets. And of course these are all loose back behind here to be able to tuck a picture underneath there. So that's it. that is my little project here. The tutorial will play next. Thanks for watching. Okay, so to start, you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard, 6.5 by 8.5, and 1 piece 6.5 by 2. We're going to go ahead and wrap those. So for the spine, you're going to need a piece that is 8.5 by 5. I'm going to go ahead and get my 1 inch and 1.5 inch spacers in here. And if you don't have the spacers from Country Craft Creations, you can use scraps of chipboard cut to 1 inch and 1.5 inch. You can use, if you don't have scraps of chipboard, you can use, I've actually like put that in my scoreboard and scored it at 1 inch and 1.5 and use those as just visual guides to kind of line up where everything needs to go. And that is so not turned the right way. Unfortunately, I'm not using score tape sheets, so I can peel that off of there because I hadn't burnished it down yet. Let's turn it the right way. So you want the 1.5 inch border on the side, not on the top. Oh my gosh, when you're using the 1 inch, it doesn't matter. It's just on the spine that it matters. So got that in there. I'm gonna move my 1.5. Bring in my 1. To wrap the 2 other pieces, you need cardstock that is 8.5 by 10.5. I'm going to go ahead and get my backing off of here. For the front and back covers, they just need the 1 inch border to wrap, not the bigger border. Those away and move my my scoreboard for a minute. So we're going to start by wrapping our chipboard. So I'm just using the chipboard to help fold that over and then burnishing that crease where it folds. And it doesn't have to be like a super hard burnish like you would do on a flap or something, but just enough so that you can see where that is. Okay, we're going to do that on all 3 pieces. Oops. After we burnish that down a little bit better because it wasn't down all the way. There we go. Our spine. All right. So now we're going to, I'm actually going to leave that piece for last. We're going to do these 2 first. We're going to cut out that corner. On all four corners. And then once you've done that, you're just going to fold this in and you're going to check to see if anything's hanging out. Okay? Because that will give you nice clean corners when this is all glued down and so forth. Then we're going to go around this with score tape. And this is just 1/4 inch score tape. Some people do this step entirely with glue. That's up to you. I do like using both the score tape and the glue because the score tape helps it grab immediately and I don't have to, you know, hold it and keep burnishing to get the glue good and worked in there. And it just, I think, makes it go together a little bit faster. Okay, let's do this one. We're going to check our corners again and miter as needed. So on this one, and the reason I waited to do this one till last, is if you've seen any of these in the past where we've cut out the triangle and then wrapped it so then you have the wings. We had a couple of people at the Utah retreat that were showing us that you really can wrap this similar to how you do this. You're of course not wrapping these two side wings in. You're just doing that top and bottom. And then somebody else had shown us how they were wrapping this instead of, you know, so pretend this is all wrapped and everything, where we would put it together like this with that wing on the inside, and then you have like that slight gap that personally I think looks really, really nice and kind of gives it, you know, a little bit different finished edge. Somebody had showed us how they are doing it to the outside, so you have that complete, you know, folded over look, but it's just much easier to wrap. So that's how we're going to do this one. I don't love it, but it still looks nice. It's something, you know, it's just another option that you may have, that you can have in using in a way to adapt this method, the easy wrap method of doing your album. So we're going to go ahead and cut out our squares. And one thing, if you are going to wrap this to the outside of the book that you want to keep in mind, you don't want to get crazy with your mitering on these pieces, because if you miter this really aggressively, you're going to have a weird looking gap at the top and the bottom of your book if you wrap these wings to the outside. If you're wrapping them to the inside, it's not going to matter. But if you're wrapping them to the outside, it does actually make a difference, because I was going to try that on, because I know when Tammy was doing the tutorial for the Vintage Ancestry book, she had wrapped hers to the outside. And I was going to, but I had gotten really carried away with my mitering on this step, and it did not look right. So I had to pull it apart and do a bunch of surgery on the book, and ultimately it came out okay, but oh good Lord, I made a mess. And I caused myself a lot of heartache in the way that I ended up doing that. So just, you know, something to keep in mind if you're going to try wrapping this to the outside. Okay, so what we're going to do on this one is we're going to do our tape on the top and bottom, just like we've done on all four sides of our cover. And then we're going to put, and you do need the 1/4 inch score tape for this, you're going to do 1/4 inch right up against that chipboard, right there. And again, this is just if you're wrapping it to the outside, like I'm going to show you here. If you're not wrapping it to the outside, you don't need to do that. You would just go ahead and flip this over and burnish this down, and then do your tape along this edge and then in here, and then line up your front and back cover like we've done on every other tutorial I've done in the last year. Okay, so we're going to get our score tape backing off our ends. And I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to run glue along that chipboard and then squiggle in the center. Use my bone folder to push that paper up against the edge of the chipboard and then up and over. And again, up against the edge and over. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and wrap our front and back cover. So it's going to be the same thing. We're going to get our backing off. I like to start on my short edge. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. So again, glue excuse me, along the chipboard. Burnish up and over. And up and over. And then I do the long sides. Up and over. And then up and over. Okay. Sorry, I need a drink of water really quick here. Okay. Okay, and our last side. All right, so I'm sure you all remember the old school style of building the albums where you'd string all the papers together and then you'd, you know, glue all your chipboard down and you'd use, you know, the score tape for spacers so that you didn't have your chipboard crack. This is the same basic principle. You're just not attaching long sheets of paper together and having to try to wrap this whole huge, you know, hard to handle thing. But this is basically the same kind of idea. So we are actually going to use our our scoreboard. And I'm not going to put my mat in here just because I do need to use these sides. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put this in here and I'm going to push this all the way to the side, which the way I've got this turned is the bottom of my scoreboard. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get our glue on this tab. Okay, push that all the way to the bottom. Get the top cover right up to the edge of that score tape. Use your chipboard as a guide to get everything lined up nice and even. Okay. Okay, so see how smooth that works? And then you've got that nice edge. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. So again, I'm just going to get my glue. If you're worried about getting glue on your scoreboard, then you can use a ruler, you can use the edge of your, you know, use your table, whatever you're comfortable with. So again, I'm going right up to the edge of that score tape, and I'm using my scoreboard to make sure everything's nice and even. I'm going to pull this out, move that out of the way. I'm going to come back here. If I've got any glue that's run, I'm going to wipe that off. And then I'm just going to go ahead and burnish this down. Okay, so then you've got that nice seamless edge. You don't have, you know, your chipboard that's kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? You don't have the gap like you would have on, say, like this. So you've got two distinct areas where you can see where that chipboard ends, and then you have your spine. You don't have that on here. You have that seamless edge all the way across. So we are still going to do our piece on the inside to reinforce, and that's where this is really going to end up looking really nice. So this piece should be 6 inches by 6 3/8. Okay, I do have score tape over the entire back of this, and I am going to pull these up as well. Let's pull the backing off of your 1/4 inch that you used to make sure that you had enough space there. Then I'm going to get the backing off of this. And I am going to turn this sideways. And just to make sure I'm holding my paper the right way, I'm going to turn it with the sticky side up and just kind of lay it and get an idea of where I'm actually going to put this down at. So you just want to center it. Okay. We're going to be almost to the top, almost to the bottom. We're going to push that down. And then we're going to burnish. Okay. Then we are still going to fold this up like we normally would, and we're going to burnish into that gap that we left when lining up our chipboard so that it doesn't crack from it being too tight. And what ends up happening as you burnish these two pieces together, you get kind of this little channel here, and it really reinforces this pivot point, and it looks really, really nice and really, really professional. Personally, and not that I'm saying that this method doesn't look nice and doesn't look professional, because personally I love the distinction on this. I love how this looks, but I know not everybody likes having that chipboard, and I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Pamela that had been doing it like this and had shown it to us, and it works. It does work really well, and it does look really nice. So you'll see right here, I've got like a little piece that looks kind of hairy and sticking up. It's not cracked. If you're using artisan, you know that it's made with linen, and sometimes, especially this time of year, as you know, everybody's in the house, you've got the heaters on, and you know, paper tends to get a lot drier. You might occasionally have something that looks like a crack on the artisan. It is not a crack. It is literally just some of the linen fibers that are within the paper kind of popping up, and all you need to fix that is a nail file. So I literally just filed that off, and it's good to go. So we are going to go ahead and mat the outside of our book. And as you know, I am using the Jingle All the Way, and we are actually going to mat this whole thing as we go. Simply because, as I said, I've already made this book once, and I made it for a gift for somebody, and loved how it came out to the point that I really didn't want to send it. So I went through and I measured everything, and I took lots of pictures and figured out, you know, wrote down all of my measurements and, you know, my matting and whatnot, so that I could recreate it exactly, so that I had my own version of it. So 2" by 6 3/8 for the spine, and I am using Simple Stories Jingle All the Way because it has the frames, and if you of course would have seen the walkthrough, we're going to do a couple of cute things with the frames on the cover, something that I have not done before, or had not done before. And we'll get to that here probably closer to the end of the tutorial. I'm not going to start out with the frames and how I made one of the frames into a shaker and all of that. We'll do that very, very last, because we wouldn't want to put them on here because they were kind of bulky, because then it's going to make it that much harder to work with our book as we're assembling. So the papers for the front and back are 6 3/8 by 8 3/8. Okay, get that out of the way. And we'll just go ahead and see, we could even use that side up, but I want the poinsettias up on the back. And if you are making this, and you are making this exactly as we're going to do it in the tutorial, you will need 3 sheets, I think. You might be able to make it work with 2, but you have to be very careful. And if you don't want to have to be very careful, I would suggest 3 sheets of the 3x4 cut-aparts. because we do use a few of them here. We use the back side to mat because I loved this for the matting for several different things in here. But you specifically need this little Dear Santa cut apart for one of the closures in the book because it looks really cute. Other than that, I think I used 2 sheets of the 4x6 cut aparts, and I'm not sure which one the other one was. There was one other that I know I needed at least 2 sheets of, and now I can't think which one it was. And that, of course, I didn't write down. I went through and was cutting all the mats for this from the scraps I had left from the other ones before I figured out which ones I needed extra of, because I wasn't keeping track when I made the first book, because, you know, it was going to be a gift and that was going to be the end of it, and there was not going to be a tutorial or anything. And then I just loved it, and I thought it was another, you know, cute way to use the frames. Okay, so you'll see, because of how we do this, I did my measurements based on the chipboard, and you're going to have like this little bit bigger gap. What you can do, because of how this functions, you can actually kind of train your book and push that 1/4 inch gusset down in here a little bit further, so that that wider gap really kind of moves to the spine. Okay, all right, so let's open this up. We are going to mat this little piece in here, and I don't think I cut the matting for that, and that would be literally the only thing I didn't cut the matting on. So give me just 1 second here, because I also don't remember what I used on that one. Oh, I did just use one of those. Okay. So I did just use one of it wasn't a patterns and it wasn't a solids, matching solids. It was this plaid and gingham that was just absolutely adorable. So this is going to be, I think I did this actually like 1 15/16 by 6 3/8. For this inside matting underneath the hinge. So let's go ahead and put that down. So this was 1 15/16 by 6 3/8 for the matting under the hinge. Of course, because we do have a hinge that's going on top of this, this is totally optional. If you don't want to mat underneath it, you don't have to. But it literally will just be essentially a scrap that you'll do that with. So, all right, so for our hinge is going to be 5 7/8 by 5 1/2 with the 5 1/2 at the top of the chipboard, I'm sorry, scoreboard. And as you know, I have to turn mine sideways or I can't get a decent score line. We're just going to score every 1/2 inch all the way across. So 1 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2, 5. Okay. You know what? I'm not going to keep dragging this back and forth. I'm just going to put my thing on here. Okay, so we're going to fold up and burnish our first hinge and glue that down. And burnish that down. We're going to turn and fold it over. Burnish it down again. there's our first hinge. I'm going to skip this next one and go to the next two and fold. And to keep it nice and straight, when you fold it, start burnishing from the middle out, not from an end across, because that will help keep it nice and straight. And the paper's not going to, you know, jog a little bit on you. Okay. Do the same thing when you're burnishing. There's our second hinge. You're going to skip one, go to the next two, and fold again. Or burnish out from the middle. And glue. Glue, burnish. Okay, and we're going to fold back again carefully because that won't be totally dry yet. But then we can get that burnish nice and flat. And stand this up and burnish it going the other way. And I totally should have erased all of my writing on this before I did this because that was really dumb. But that's okay. I do that all the time, you have no idea. And sometimes I catch it now and sometimes I don't. Alright, so we're at our last one. So you're going to skip and you're just going to have the two at the end. And again, from the middle out. And then down. Fold that back, burnish it again, and there we go. We have our hinge. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back in. I'm just going to hold it here and kind of get an idea of where it's going to go down at. You're just going to center it top to bottom, right to left. And then I am just going to get my glue all over the back. And again, side to side, top to bottom. And then I kind of burnish with my fingers first so I don't accidentally slide it. And then I come in with my bone folder and burnish that down. Okay. Give that a second to get good and dry. We'll do our page bases. So our page bases are 8 by 12. You need 4 of them. With the 12 inch at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score at 6 inches on all 4. Okay. So we're going to fold all these in half and burnish them. As you fold it over, make sure that you're lining up in the corners. And then again, you're going to start from the middle and burnish out. Okay. All right, so these are going to go on just like this. Okay, we're going to leave the top open for an insert. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. If you wanted to close the top and leave this side open and do a long insert, you could. My inserts are going to be top inserts. And all we're going to do is I hold this open like so. And I apologize, I know this is a little bit harder to see on the black paper. We're going to fold this over so that and we're actually going to drag it down just a hair because this is 5 7/8. This is 6 inches. So you're going to have about a 1/16 of an inch at the top of the bottom. And that was just because when I did this the full 16 or 6 inches, then you had just a tiny bit that was hanging out at the top, and we don't want that. So what I've done is I've gotten this centered up top to bottom, and like I said, it's just a bare 1/16 of an inch, and then I'm going to pull it out about the same from the hinge just to make sure we have enough space. Okay, and I glue on that side, and we're just going to fold this over and just burnish it down. You can use your bone folder, you can just use your finger. And then we're going to fold it backwards, and then we're going to get our glue on this outside edge, just a line on the outside, and then again on the hinge and fold it over. Okay, so there's our first page. Wipe off any glue that has run or squeezed out. You know how that goes. We're going to do the same thing again, only this time we can just use our prior page to line up where that needs to go. And again, you're going to pull it out just a hair from the edge of your hinge. Oh, I just managed to move mine, of course, because of course I did. Okay. And again, I'm just burnishing with my finger. Pull it back the opposite way. And then I'm doing my line of glue on this outside edge to close it up and on the hinge. And again, I'm just burnishing with my fingers. And that should be more than sufficient to get that good and stuck down. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Fold that over the top of that page base. Okay. And line it up down here. Pull it out just a hair. glue off my finger. It's getting everywhere. And again, same thing in here. Okay, whoops. And this one did actually go on just a tiny bit crooked, but it's just for me, so I'm not going to worry about it. It's not like this one's going anywhere. This one's staying at home. Okay, we're on our last page. Let me erase my measurement off of that. Okay. Last page, we're going to do it the exact same way. Hang on to anything today, it would really come in handy, wouldn't it? Okay. Well, no, maybe that one wasn't that crooked. Maybe it was just the way I was looking at it. Okay. And then back. All right, and there's your pages. Easy peasy. All right, so let me move the frames because we don't need those. Let me grab my pile for the front inside cover, and I know I cut the inserts. I just don't know what I've done with them, but we don't need them yet, so it'll be okay. All right, so front inside cover. This is going to have, let me move my matting. We're going to have two flaps that are going to open out like so, and they do have a magnet closure. We then have a pocket, and we have two more flaps on the inside. Okay. So let me grab my notes. Okay, so for the pocket is 3.5 by 9 1/8. You're going to score this at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Okay. The two big flaps that are your front. The first one is 6.5 by 6 3/8 with the 6 3/8 at the top of the scoreboard. You're going to score this at 1/2 and 5/8. That way we have a little bit of a gusset, which actually this goes this way. The opposite flap is 4.5 by 6 3/8. So with the 4.5 at the top of the scoreboard, did I just do that wrong? No, I'm right. Okay. You're going to score at 1/2 and 5/8. And then for our two flaps that are on the inside, those are both 4 by 6. You're going to score those at 1/2 inch with the 6-inch side at the top of the scoreboard. Okay. So, I'm going to bring our book in. Our mat. Actually, over there so I can see it. We're going to start with our pocket. So we're going to miter the bottom corners, and you're just going to cut through where those two score lines intersect on that bottom corner. And then I'm going to miter the top of the pocket just a little bit. And you always want to miter from your score line out so that you don't accidentally cut into your score line and cut too much off. Okay, now set that aside because we actually need our big flaps first. Okay, so our bigger flaps, we're going to miter those from the outside. So if you're holding it this way, I've got my score lines on this side. From that outside score line, You're going to miter them just a little bit on both. This too is also where you need to decide if you're going to round the corners on your flaps, which I believe I am going to do. And I have a older scallop punch, corner punch from your memory keepers that I've had, I don't even know how long. Let me put it this way, I would have purchased it at Archivers, if that gives you any idea of how old it is. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that on all of my flaps for this page. I'm just going to set that there. Okay, so we're going to attach our 2 flaps first. And when I have that extra score line, I'll fold my 1/2 inch that's actually getting glued down and put that down. Once it's down and it's dry, then I push back against it to fold that second score line. Because that second score line, the one at the 5/8, is just there to give it a little bit of a gusset so that nothing's in there too tightly. Okay, so this is going to go down over here. You're going to center it top to bottom, and you're going to leave it about 1/16 of an inch away from your hinge. Or I'm sorry, the hinge on the spine. I know what I'm trying to say. It's not coming out right. Okay. Do the same thing on the opposite side. And when you've got that little 5/8 score there, that little 1/8 inch between the two, it does try to fold up for you, and that's fine. If you can line them up with both of them folded and burnished, then go ahead and do it that way. I have an incredibly hard time lining them up that way. So what I'm going to do is lay one on top of the other to make sure I've got them at the same height so that it's even on the sides here. And then I'm just going to the outside edge with this one. And now that that's down, I can come in here, and you can use your bone folder to kind of help you get that folded where it needs to. Okay, I'll do the same thing on this one. This one's going to cooperate a little bit better for me, except down on that one edge. Okay. All right. So now we can put our pocket down, because you want those flaps, of course, underneath your pocket. And when I do my pockets, before we put this in here, we want to make sure that it's not too big, and it's not. We're about right. So let me just double check what I've got going here. I know those go there and those go there. Double checking if I had to put a mat down before I put this down, and I don't believe so. Okay, so my pockets, I like to do them starting with just the bottom flap. And then I'm not going to have this go below where my flaps come in, so it's not going to be quite to the bottom. Okay. And then I am going to leave that like that because we are going to put this mat down underneath it. No, we're not. No, we're not. It just has a border. Just kidding. Ignore me. I'm not thinking. Okay. Then I'll get my two sides and burnish those down. Okay. I'm going to flip this around upside down so I can get my two flaps on the top. Just going to fold and burnish those. And then these, whoops, that didn't glue, did it? Okay, so these are not, there is going to be a gap. So I literally just put these to the outside edge of that pocket. So we had a little tiny gap in the middle. But again, we're not going above where these two come over and close. Okay. Go. And you can miter these if you want to. It's not really going to matter because the entire tab part of that is going to be covered. And then you just want to line these up so that they're aligned across there and then aligned with the edge of that pocket. Okay. So then I have this that is actually the back side of the 4x6 cut aparts. And that's going to slide down like so. Okay. So I'm going to ink my edges on this just a little bit, but I'm only going to ink where it's going to show. So you don't need to go all the way around this. If you wanted to cut this one shorter before sliding it down in there, you could. And I'm just going to get a little bit of glue on that bottom section and then slip it down in here because it's not going to go all the way to the bottom. Okay, and then just gently fold that back and get my glue everywhere else that it needs to go, and then lay that down. Okay, for the pocket, and that was, I don't even know, I didn't write down my matting, 8x6, I believe, because it was 2 whole cut aparts on the back. And then this one's going to just go on top of the pocket. And again, go ahead and ink. And I should have gone through and pre-inked all of this stuff just so you don't have to watch me do it. And I may actually pause this for a minute and go and do exactly that. Okay. So this one I believe is 8 by 2 7/8 because it's a 3-inch pocket. Okay. All right. So on the back side of those flaps, I have this green. I'm going to go ahead and punch my corners. This is going to go on the fronts, so we're going to punch the corners on these again. Okay, so those go on the front. These two go on the back. This one goes here. And again, where this is that. Actually, I think I used it with that one out. In here. Actually, I don't know which one I used out. We're going to go ahead and use that plaid. But before we put those down, we do need a magnet because this is going to have a magnetic closure. So let me grab my magnets. There's one open. Why are there 3 magnets on there? Where did I lose a magnet at? Oh my god, did I find the one that I lost like 3 months ago? I think I did. Holy crap, you have no idea. I made myself nuts. I opened a brand new package of magnets and couldn't find one of them. It'd been there when I opened it, got the backing off, it was gone. I think I just might have found it. That's awesome. Okay, so you've only got about an inch or so that these overlap, okay? So what you can do is you could put this magnet more towards the bottom here, and then you could put it on top of the pocket here, which I've already matted that, so that's not going to work for me. But I can kind of eyeball here about where I want it to go. I'm going to stick that on the back. Then I'll get my backing off of the other magnet, which is what's nice about using the basic gray ones because you do have that option. Okay, so there's our magnets there. This green dot goes on the top here, and the little cars go here. So I'm going to go ahead and punch my corners on this one as well. And then I am going to pause this for a minute. I'm going to ink these and get these down and get the rest of my inking done, and then we'll be back. Alright, so now we're going to work on the front of page 1. So for this one, we have, that's what that was, okay. We've got a couple of flaps that are going to come down over a pocket, and then we're going to use a matted cut apart that's going to slide down in front. So the flaps, apparently don't have anything written on them, are 4 by 6.5. With the 6.5 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score 1/2 inch. Okay, and then the matting for those is going to be this black and white check on the back side. And then, because they actually are going to come in sideways. I knew what I was trying to do here. And, did I just lose one of my flaps? No, there it is. So one flap is going to have the red, the other is going to have the black and white check. The other flap, and I've got these backwards again. This is why I don't usually mat and try to do this at the same time. It's going to have the trees and then the black check on the back. And then we've got a small pocket. This is 2 5/8 by 9. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch. Turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. And why do I feel like that didn't score quite right? No, it's okay. All right, so I'm going to bring my book in. I'm actually going to mat the pocket front and the flaps before we put them down. And so as you can see on the flaps, I have already done my corner punch on the ends. I've gone through and inked everything, so you guys don't have to watch me do that because it's incredibly boring. And it takes up a lot of time. So in this pocket, I'm going to miter through where our score lines meet. And I'm going to miter the top. Okay. Flaps, you can miter these or not. It's not really going to make too much difference just because that entire little tab is going to be covered. And if you wanted to use a magnet instead of the cut apart to hold this closed, you absolutely could. Okay, get that lined up. And before I get glue on my scoreboard, let's do that just to be safe, because I know how this goes with me. And I'm using the black, or I'm sorry, the red that's kind of like this. I don't know, it's got kind of a linen looking pattern on it that you probably can't really see on camera too well, instead of the poinsettias that are on the other side. But you could absolutely use those as well. Okay. Put that down. Straighten it up. And then we are going to go ahead and fold and burnish. Fold and burnish, and then do the same thing with our pocket. And I'm not necessarily going to give you the matting measurements just because everybody likes that differently. You may have a slightly different measurement depending on your cutter. When you cut your paper. Okay, so this pocket's going to go all the way to the bottom. And we will do our sides. Okay, or not, because apparently I cannot glue anything down correctly today. And then our two flaps are going to come in on the side here. I'm going to turn this sideways, not upside down. And they are going to line up at the top of the page. And I am slightly off on something here because they should not go over that pocket. So I'm going to have to fix those. But the basic idea is they come over the pocket like so, or above the pocket, so that you can slip the cut apart in like so. Okay. Somehow I've got these sized wrong, so I'm going to go back and fix those later. And we're just going to move on. Okay. Not sure what I did there. Actually, this is probably what's wrong, but I wonder if I did. Actually, I think this pocket's supposed to be 2 3/8 by 9, not 2 5/8, because it was a very shallow pocket. So the measurement on these is correct. This is what's wrong. So I will come back and fix that in a bit. All right, page 2, very, very simple. We just have a pocket. And when we go through, after we do some prep work on our frames, our frame is going to sit on top of the pocket. So the pocket is 7 by 4 5/8. This goes 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. You're going to miter through the corner, and then at the top, we're going to fold and burnish. Bring this back in. And this is going to go almost, but not quite, to the inside edge. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap just because that frame is going to sit on top of this and you don't want it hitting in here when you go to turn your page. Okay. Okay. So then, and I need to just double check because I don't remember for sure. Okay, that was it. All right, so I've got my little Santa paper here. That's going to go on top of the pocket. And actually, I think I cut them the other way around, which is fine. So my Santa paper is going to go on this side. And you can mat as far down into your pockets as you want. I don't ever, well, I shouldn't say I don't ever. Very rarely do I go all the way down, because I just don't think it's necessary. And it just uses up your paper that much faster, and I just don't typically want to do that. Okay, we've got the green holly that's going to be on top here. Okay, and then once we get our frames prepped, one of your frames is going to sit on top of that. Okay, so page 2, the front, we're going to need magnets. I literally just had them set here. What did I do with them? There they are. Okay, get these opened up. Thought I opened them up a minute ago, but I guess I didn't. All right, so we have this little 3x4 cut apart that is going to go on a mat, but our magnet is going to be underneath this. So I've got just a little scrap of the green polka dot that I am going to put on the back of this 3x4, or I'm sorry, 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 piece, because that's going to get glued on the bottom of a flap. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, get out a set of magnets. And I am going to put this, make sure you've got your matted piece underneath. We're just going to drop this down in the center and move the top one. And what I've been doing lately, just to make sure that that outside edge that always seems to want to bubble up on magnets stays down, is I've been just putting a little bit of score tape, of 1/2 inch score tape on that outside edge. Okay. All right. I'll turn around and put that one down there. Set that aside for right now. So we are going to have one piece that we're going to mat underneath everything when all is said and done. And that does not look like the right size. We've got 2 flaps that come in on the sides. These are 4 5/8 by 4 1/8. With the 4 1/8 at the top, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. Okay, and I have rounded my corners on these. I am going to go ahead and put my matting down. So these are just from the 4x4 cut aparts. And I think I used quite a few of those. That may have been the other one that you need. No, maybe you don't need the second sheet of that one because I only used the car side of it in one other place. Okay. And of course, you don't have to mat this as you go. The only thing with matting it as you go, honestly, the biggest benefit to it, to me anyway, is then at least the book is 100% done, other than a little bit of decorating when you finish building it. But I don't always know ahead of time how I'm matting something, so I don't typically do that, except maybe sometimes with Doodle Bug. Just because with that I usually have a whole plan of what it is that I'm doing. And I usually have it all figured out what patterns are going where. But that is not always the case. Okay. Varnish those. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring my book in. This one's going to go to this side. And we are just going to center it up at the edge of the page. Okay. I'm pretty sure this mat is totally wrong, and I'm not sure why. Unless I've picked up the wrong one somewhere else, which is possible. But that one, fortunately, is from the patterns, or the patterns that match that I've got a whole bunch of. Okay, so we're just going to center this up, make sure it's kind of lined up with the other ones. We're not going quite all the way to the edge here. And then we have the two flaps that close down, or that go out like so, and then close, because this is going to go on the bottom of one of them. These are 5x7. We're going to score these at 1/2 inch on the 5-inch side. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And you're going to mat these after they're down, which I guess we really don't have to. Okay, so I've got my plaid that's going to go on the back. And I think I cut that red mat for the inside of this one wrong, because I know I had now it's cut just slightly too big, so we're going to hold on to that one for just a minute. Yeah, they are just ever so slightly too big. I'll have to fix that one in a bit. So for right now, we're just going to go ahead and do the one. Okay. The bottom flap has the plaid.
Are you watching something on the DVR?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. And then I'll fix that plaid that goes on the other one. And this one goes on the top. Actually, I should have mounted the back side of one of these, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, so this one, you're just going to center this one up at the bottom. And it really should sit right between your tabs here for your other. And this one will go on the top. And again, side to side. There, I've got glue everywhere on this one because of course I do. I'm just going to hold that there. There we go. Okay. So now we have our little piece here with the magnet. Okay. So when this is all closed up, it's going to sit almost all the way to the bottom. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get glue on the back side. I am just going to center this up on here. Put that down. Then I'm going to open this up. And since my sticky for my magnet is on the wrong side, because I should have turned that over, but that's okay. I'm just going to put the magnet on top of a piece of score tape. Maybe. And let that grab where it needs to grab. And then I'm going to put it down here on the bottom. Okay? So these all fold in like so. And then that will fold over and hold everything closed. So I will come back later and fix those other two mats. Okay, the back side of page 2. This one's really fun and very, very simple. So first thing we're going to do is mat it. Okay. And then we have 3 little bitty pockets. These are 3.5 by 3.5. We are going to score these at 1/2 inch on each side. On all 3. And then we are going to miter. So again, through the bottoms where the score line meets. And then just the small miter on the top. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and fold and burnish all 3 pockets. All right, so now what we're going to do is these pockets are going to go across the middle of your page, about like so. So what I did on my original one is I just kind of lined them up, kind of guessed where I needed them to go, and then I started with one end. Since these are small and I want to get them perfectly straight, I am going to do, not that you can't get them straight the other way, but where they're going in the middle of the page, I don't have like an edge that I'm putting them down on to make sure. And I am about 1/8 of an inch away from that outside edge. I'm putting that down. Okay. I'm going to come to my other side and go all the way to that edge. But I'm going to use my ruler to try to get my bottom even with the one on the other side. Okay, and then again, I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch away. And then we'll do the center pocket. That just helps you space them a little more evenly so that you don't end up with them all way too far to one side or the other, or to not have enough room for the middle pocket. Okay. All right. So these, I just have 3 of the 3x4 cut aparts that I have just trimmed down to fit on the fronts of these pockets. I almost want to do that one in the middle there, instead of the back side of it, the cut apart side. I kind of like it. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I think I like it better than the cut apart side. Okay, and then what goes in these, and I'm not going to put them in here yet because we are still working with the book, but I will show you what I did. In the collection kit, there is an entire sheet of just tags, okay? So all I've done is I've cut all of the tags apart, put them into little groups of 6. I've trimmed them down because they are 3 inches, down to 2 3/8, so they should slide into the pockets here. And of course, the one I'm trying to show you does not want to slide. And if that's the case, then you may need to trim them just a little bit. So you may want to check them before you put them together. But they're going to slide down in here. You're going to have one that you're going to leave out over the edge. And all I have done to hook these together is I've just taken some twine. And this is probably what? Maybe 2 feet? Yeah, so 24 inches. And I've just folded it in half, and then in half one more time. Threaded it through the holes on the top of the tags. My little stack of tags here. If you don't want to use all of them, you don't have to. You can do your little tag booklet thing here. Much, much smaller if you want to. But to leave enough give at the top, I'm literally just tying these around the handle on my crocodile here. You could use a dowel stick if you've got one. You could use pretty much anything, depending on how big you want this little loop at the top to be. One more time through, maybe. If I can get hold of them. And I'm just double knotting that. Slide it down off there. And there I've got my little tag booklet that slips down in there. So I'm not going to put them in there right now because they will be in the way. So we'll just go ahead and move them. Okay, the next one, front of page 3, we've got another pocket that is going to sit on top of the, that's going to have a frame that sits on top. So this is 6 7/8 by 7. So, I remember which way I wanted to start this. Okay, so starting with 7 inch at the top, I score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. And one thing too, when you're cutting stuff that's going to be edge to edge on a page, you really don't want to cut the exact height of the page. You want to go just a hair under, like a 1/16 of an inch, 32nd of an inch, just barely under, so that it doesn't hang over the top edges, or the top and bottom edge, or one edge of your page. Okay. Golden burnish. This is going on the top, some way, whichever way it goes. I am going to go ahead and put that down. Okay. This is going to go down on the inside here. And again, you don't want to go totally to the edge of the page base. You want to leave a little tiny gap, about 1/8 of an inch. And again, I'm going to line this up top to bottom. And then put my pocket down. And then I can flip that back and burnish it. And then glue my side. And burnish those down. And then I've got just this little strip from the 2x2 cut-aparts that we're going to just slip on the end here. To mat that end. Okay. And again, one of our frames is going to go on that page. Okay. This next side, we've got some more flaps. We're going to use another magnet. So let's get our flaps on here first. Or scored first, that is. So you need 4 pieces, 3 7/8 by 4 5/8. The 4 5/8 at the top, we're going to score all of these at 1/2 inch. Okay. I have the black and white matting for the back. These flaps are going to go 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So I've got this cute little car and the snowman, and then the red plaid for the bottom. And then we're going to have a band that's going to come across and hold this all down. The band is 2 1/8 by 7 1/4. With the 7 1/4 at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. This is where our magnet's going to go, so we're going to go ahead and put that down on the back. Maybe, maybe not. There we go. All right. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to go ahead and put my matting on the back here. I should have put some tape over that magnet, but I didn't. And it'll be okay. I just have to come back and kind of get the edges with the glue again. And then this one is going to go on the top. And this is again just from that 2x2 cut apart sheet. Okay. Stick that back on there so I know where it is. We're going to come over here. We're going to put our flaps down on this bottom edge first. Okay. So these are going to come up right next to each other and then centered. So it looks like it needs about 1/8 of an inch away from the side. They're going to go all the way to the bottom. Okay, I'm going to turn this around, do the other side. And this is where you're going to want to fold these down and line up that outside edge so that they line up perfectly when they're folded down. Okay. And then turn it sideways and we're going to put down our flap, our closure. And this I'm just going to center on the edge of the page. Okay, once I've got that down, oops, I'm going to come in here and get the backing off of that magnet so that I can get it down where it needs to go. Just drop that down, push, and there's our magnet. Alright, so this is my mat for this one. I think I am going to leave it with that red, white, and black up. Okay, and then just to mat I've got these flap mats just slightly off, and you know what? I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. Side down at the bottom. Yeah, I totally have these just off, and I'm not sure why. That's okay. Oh shit, that's not what I'm doing. And what I could come back and do when I'm all done, that one got scored totally crooked, it looks like, or else I cut the mat crooked, who knows. Honestly, at this point, I'm just kind of, I don't know what I'm doing. I could come back with some washi tape, I could come back with some little scraps from the collection, and just put a border along the bottom. For that matter, I think I've got, I don't remember if there's a border on the sticker sheet or not. But I can just embellish this so that that's not sticking out like that, because I think these are actually supposed to be, those should have been right. So did I cut them wrong? I think I did. I think I cut them wrong. I did. I totally cut those too big. So the measurement I gave you is correct. I just didn't cut them right when I cut them. So apologize for that. But the measurement I gave you is absolutely correct. I just cut mine wrong when I was cutting everything for my base. But that's okay. Again, this book is just for me. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to matter. Okay, so then that sits that just like that. I have no idea what this one is. Again. Unless it's in the wrong pile. Okay, so our next one, very simple. We just have a waterfall. Okay, this is our matting that's going to go at the bottom of the waterfall. And then we've got a tuck spot with a cut apart that's been matted that's going to hold the whole thing closed. So the tuck spot is 1 1/4 by 6. And I think that's actually supposed to be 1 by 6, not 1 1/4. Or 1 1/8, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's supposed to be 1 1/8 by 6. And that part's totally simple because all I'm going to do is put my mat on the top. And then just a line of glue on 3 sides and put it down on this inside edge, about a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge here, leaving your open edge towards the outside edge of your book. Okay, so that will slide down in there. This will be our matting under here in just a minute. And this is going to be the front matting on our waterfall. And then the edges, I just had gone back after I had everything else done and cut 1-inch strips from my scraps and matted just that 1-inch edge. You could just leave them if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. So these are 4.5 by 6. You do need 6 of them. And you're going to squirt 1/2 inch on all of them. So we are just going to fold and burnish, just like always. Okay. And then just normal waterfall process. I'm going to turn this so I'm doing it upside down. Get some gunk off the end of my glue there. Okay, we're just going to come to the outside edge. It will go top to bottom, so this will be a really easy one to put together. Anything weird going on with our waterfall in this case. Other than that page is slightly short, but I don't care. Was me getting carried away with doing it just, you know, a hair shorter when I was cutting all of my base pieces. Because the rest of these are all just fine. Alright, so there's that. This mat is going to come down right underneath here. It's actually going to slide. Actually, no, it's not. It's going to come right up to the edge of your tuck spot here. And it's going to go just slightly on top of the flap, or the bottom tab for that last waterfall page. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so then here's our piece for the front. Okay. Okay, so that's down. And then I'm just going to come in here and just kind of burnish those waterfall pages down. So they sit nice and flat. Okay, like so. I'll come back later with just some of my scraps cut to either 5/8 or 3/4, 1 inch, just whatever I decide to do, and mat the edges of that waterfall. But that just sits in here like that, and I think this was actually the cut apart I'd used on it originally, and really I could put it on that side and then you could flip it around either way you want to. But there's that one. For the back side of page 4, we are almost done and ready to start playing with our frames. We have stacked pockets and a flap, so we will need another magnet. First pocket is 9 by 3. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn. The bigger pocket is 9 by 5. Same thing again. Score 1/2 inch on 3 sides, 2 short sides, 1 long side. And then our flap is 8 by 6. Again, scored at 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and miter the corners on our pocket. Fold and burnish. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my small pocket down on top of my big pocket before I put it in the book. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the book, which actually I'm going to map both of those first. So I've got that word paper that's going on the bottom. I've got this one that's going, I think, hold on, don't let me get too insane here. Actually, honestly, I think either one of them will work. Or we could do it that way. Actually, I am going to do it that way. I like that better. Okay. Okay. Put that one down. Bring our book in. Get this pocket in. Okay. And this one's going to try to kind of bend on you because of that waterfall on the back. So you may have to clip this until it dries where you need it to dry. Otherwise, just lift up the page and kind of bend it so it's good and flat again. Okay, we're going to flip it upside down and get our other flap on here. And we do want to miter this one because it does go edge to edge. Got, again, with me unable to measure anything. Did I score this wrong? Actually, I think it's supposed to have one more score in it. It is. Okay. So this one, we scored it at 1/2 inch. It also needed, let me line it up right, scored at 5/8. That's right. Sorry about that. So there's our 2 score lines. And then our matting will fit. How about that? It's a miracle. I don't know if that's... Okay. Oh, that was supposed to have a magnet. It's not getting one. It's fine. This actually will be, gets a frame on top of this flap, which will make it heavy enough that it will sit flat without a problem. So I'm not super worried about it. Okay. And this one goes on top, which really you could put the trees up, but because I was putting that frame on top of it, I didn't want it, those adorable trees, to take away from it. If you aren't using the frames at all, then by all means put these super cute trees up. All right, we're on our last one. Oops, there's my inserts. I knew they were here somewhere. So we have a belly band that is 4 1/8 by 7 1/2. And I've now misplaced my scoring tool. No, I have it. There it is. So we're going to score this at 1/2 inch on each end. Okay. That's going to go just centered there. I am going to mat it with those cute trees that are apparently slightly too long. Did I do 4 1/8? And it should have been 4. That's what I did. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here before I should have re-inked that edge. Oh well. I will get it here in a minute because at least it's on the black paper, so it's not going to be as big a deal. All right. And miter our corners on both tabs. Oh, and we have an insert that is 7 by 12. You're just going to score that at 6 inches. Did that not? My gosh, seriously. I should not be doing this today, apparently, and I have to teach a live tutorial here in an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. That ought to be fun today, huh? I will apologize ahead of time if you happen to be in that class today. I'm really sorry. It might be a mess, but it's okay. We'll get through it. And then this, because this doesn't, does this go top to top, top to top? It does. Okay, never mind. For some reason I was thinking this was short, and it's not. Okay. So we are just going to center this up, right to left, as best we can. If you want to get out your ruler and do it that way, go for it. And then this pretty green is just going to slide underneath here, and then I'm going to glue down one end. And then the other. Okay. And then your insert just goes in like so. Okay, I'm going to get everything together to prep our frames, and I'll be back. First thing we need to do is back these with acetate. So to back the chipboard frames from Simple Stories with acetate, all you're going to do is take your ruler and make sure you've got about 1/8 of an inch on either side of the opening. So find the widest point and make sure you've got at least 1/8 of an inch on either side. So this one we would need about 6 inches. I actually have cut my acetate to 6 1/8 by at least 4 inches, and I've actually got this to cut it to 4 1/8. For the small one, it's going to be a 3 by 4, and I think I've got it right about 3 by 4 that I've cut for this. So let me grab my bigger piece first. And this one unfortunately does not have the what you want to call it, the tissue paper on it, because it was out of my acetate scraps. Oh, I don't want this one. And I want my 1/8 inch score tape. So I mean, this thing is seriously hard to see. Slightly better on the black. You can kind of see where it is right here. So as soon as I find the end on my 1/8 inch, okay, I'm just going to go around the outside edge of my acetate. This way I make sure I've got adhesive on all of it and it's not hanging over where there's too much adhesive, you know, where it's sticking out on an edge or something where it's going to cause a problem. I'm going to go ahead and get the backing off of that. Line that up, and really we could have put acetate on the chipboard right here in the center just to hold that down, but it's really not going to need it by the time we get the shaker in here. I'm going to go ahead and put my acetate on this one as well. This one has the tissue on it. Well, for a second it has the tissue paper on it. And I do like to try to leave the tissue paper on here if I can up until I'm ready to put it in the book, simply because it keeps stuff from sticking to it. Acetate can get very dusty very, very quickly. And when that does happen, if it's, you know, if I can, I will literally just take a piece of paper towel with a little spritz of glass cleaner on it and wipe off my acetate, because you do always have that option as well to clean it up. But you don't want to spray it directly on the acetate, because if you're cleaning it up after you've got it in the book, of course, you wouldn't want to do that. So here is our acetate on our frame, and let me gather up my shaker stuff and I'll be right back. Okay, so our small one is not a shaker, it's just going to get the pocket, so we'll do that in a minute. The big one is our shaker. So I've got, this is some a little bit skinnier foam tape that actually comes from Hobby Lobby, and it's not too bad. So I am going to go around the outside edge, And I still cannot find my scissors. I don't know what I've done with them. That's insane. Especially because my desk's actually clean and I still can't find them. Okay. Okay. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you're getting your foam tape nice and tight against the piece before it on the corners. Okay, so you could leave it with just the one layer. I know there's a lot of people out there that cut the foam for the shakers out of like craft foam. That does work, but where I want it very specific to this piece, it would not work for this. Well, I mean, there's probably a way to make it work, but that will take me longer to figure out than just doing it this way. Okay, so I'm doing a second layer of the foam tape, and what I'm doing is making sure I am running it across anywhere where there's a seam. So like right here in this corner where the two pieces come together, I'm going to run it across this way so it goes across that seam. Okay. And last side. Okay. So now, if I have it where it's supposed to be, there's the refills for my knife I was looking for last night for 30 minutes. I don't know that it made it back over here. If you've got an anti-static tool, now would be the time. I don't know what's happened to mine. I literally had it like 2 days ago and it's disappeared again. I think my ghost has found me. We used to joke, the one house we lived in Colorado, that we had a ghost because we had a box in the basement that we would put batteries in and they would just disappear out of there and then reappear later. We swore we had a ghost. Okay, so I took just a dryer sheet and kind of rubbed it around on the inside of that. And now I've got this little shaker fill stuff from Buttons Galore that I got from the shop at Country Craft Creations. She just added a whole bunch of different ones in there, and there's some really great ones. Okay, so thinking that's good. And it's got like these little confetti pieces in here that are adorable, but they're really staticky. So let's close that back up. Get a couple that went overboard. Just gonna shake that out so it's a little more flat. And then I have a second piece of acetate that is the 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. So I'm going to take my backing off of my foam tape, and I'm going to take my, which I don't remember, since I can't find my thing, I don't remember if this really works that well or not, but we're going to try it. And then we're just going to lay this down on the back. And you can see how staticky those little kind of foil looking pieces are, but that's fine. Okay, so this does not totally go to the edge of the foam tape, so I am going to just temporarily stick my backing pieces back on here just so that I don't accidentally stick anything to the back of this. But there is our shaker. Okay, Now we need to make kind of an envelope that's going to sit on the back of this to slide a picture in and out of. So what I'm doing is I'm measuring edge to edge on the foam tape. So we're at 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. Okay, so grab my trimmer and we'll go 4 1/4, and I'm actually going to go just a hair under because I really don't want it. Actually, no, it'll be fine at 4 1/4. No, it won't. 4 1/4 plus 1/2 inch, so 4 3/4. Even though ultimately this is only going to be 1/4 inch, it's going to be easier to score it and get those score lines folded and burnished if we're scoring it at 1/2 inch to start. So 6 1/4 is going to be 7 1/4. Okay. Move that for right now. And then we are going to score this at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Okay. Move that for right now. We are going to miter our corners. And then I am going to fold and burnish. Okay, and then I am literally just going to hold this on the back here and see. So you can probably just barely see how you can see where that folded in on that side. So that's what we need to trim off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1/4 inch score tape, open this back up, and I'm going to go right up against the side of that score line. Right up to where it's going to fold. Okay. And then I'm going to fold in my sides one more time, and I'm going to test it again to make sure that our tape is placed correctly, which it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my scissors, my big scissors, because I can't find my little ones, and I'm going to cut right next to that score tape. And I mean, yeah, you could cut this and score this at 1/4 inch, and that would be fine. I just have not had good luck getting those score lines to fold and look nice. Not always. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends. But where there wasn't like a whole lot of meat left. Okay, let's make sure, okay, that we're doing this with it going the right way. I just find it a little bit easier to do it this way. burnish those one more time. And go ahead and get our backing off. Maybe. I'm losing everything today. Good Lord. Okay. Okay. And we're just going to kind of push that down. And there you have your shaker with the pocket on the back. We're going to make a little insert for that here in just a minute. But that's ready to go onto our album. But before we do that, we don't want to see all this foam tape around the edge. So I am going to take my chunky doodlebug twine out of my stash, and I am going to run glue along this edge, and I am going to just start and lay this down on this edge and press it down. I'm going to get the score tape off of my hand. Okay, I'm going to turn it. And this is a trick. You can do it with normal baker's twine, but you have to go around several times. The chunky doodlebug twine for this kind of thing is awesome. I have run this around the edge of albums, particularly shaped albums, because you can't wrap your chipboard the way you typically would on an album. I've run it around many, many shakers just to hide the foam tape. If I'd had black foam tape, I probably wouldn't do this, but I am totally out of the black foam and have been for a while, and I don't know. Had a hard time finding it lately. So, okay, so I'm going to get this little tail end on here and kind of tucked away. And then get glue next to it, because we are going to go around this twice. Okay. And again. Almost there. And that will give the shaker a nice finished edge. And there we go. Look at that. So that will look really nice when it's down on the book. Okay. So this is going to go on here just like so. It can kind of hang off the edge here because when you open the book, it's not going to cause any problems. So I am going to just get my glue on the back here. Decide where this is going to go. So this one is actually going to sit just slightly on top, but we need to get a pocket on the back of this one too. So we're going to do this the same way. We're going to measure across. So this needs to be about 3 1/4, I'm sure by 4 1/4. Yeah. So So, around it. So 4 3/4. And 3 1/4. So it's 4 1/4. That's where it was wrong. It was not wide enough. So 3 1/4. Sorry, 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. That's what we need. So we'll do it one more time. Smaller purple scissors way better. I don't know where I put them. This is insane. Okay. So we're going to fold and burnish. And then open it flat and do our score tape. Trim off that score tape that's hanging over my edges here. And then we're going to cut okay, and hopefully this time I have done it correctly. So let's grab our frame. Yep, this time we're good. Okay. I'm actually going to start on the bottom. Okay, put that one up, push it down, and there you go, there's your frame. All right, so this frame, like I said, I did attach it just on the corner here. And when I did that, just because this is kind of slick, I can probably glue to it and it will be fine, but just in case, I am actually going to use a tiny bit of score tape, a little bit smaller on that one, just where this is going to overlap, and then I need to get some pop dots on this bottom corner, and we are going to use what is probably the last of my black pop dots, unfortunately. So kind of line this up where I think it's going to go. And I think it's going to take probably 3 of these. Yep. At least 3. Nope, 4. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be the last of my black pop dots. I really need to find some and order some. There we go. That's perfect. Put my 1.5 black pop dots to the side. So sad. Okay. All right. So I'm going to line this up. the corner here. Like so. Press it down, and there you go. So now we just need our little photo mats for the inside. So we're going to go 4 1/8, which this is what this is, perfect, by probably 2 15/16, just to make sure it's going to slide in here where we want it to. Yeah, that'll work. And then we're just going to go a 1/16 under 6 inches, so 5 15/16. And I will get into my scraps that are left from the project and find a couple of pieces to mat those with. Okay, so I'm going to go like that. That's going to be our bigger mat. Be our smaller mat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get these glued on here. Maybe I'm going to fight with the glue some more, because that is literally all I have done this morning. Okay, and this one, and then I'm going to grab our stickers to make a little tab on both of these to very easily be able to grab them and slide them in and out. Okay, so I've got these stickers and I've got these stickers. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm actually going to use the word stickers. However, I need them, find two that are the same size. So I got lucky right here. So I'm going to put ho 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 down. And I'm going to take my little Season's Greeting one that's the same size. Get a little bit of glue on the back and just line it up on the back, and there you've got your little tab to pull that in and out. So let's find, I really like that one, and I don't, aha, there we go. Okay, so this one I'm going to put to this side. I'm going to put that one on the back. And there you go. So these are going to just slide right down in there, like so. And in behind our shaker, like so. There went the pin for my glue, and there you go. So I did add a sticker on the spine there. I've gone through and done, so these are the puffy stickers, which if you haven't seen the puffy stickers that Simple Stories did this year, they are so cute, and I would not have even thought that, but I had done a class couple weekends ago, and they'd used the same paper line, and they had those, and I was just like, oh, I love these. That's supposed to go that way. So I've got just some of the ephemera layered up here, and I did do this for the most part like I had done the other book that went as a gift. So like this little guy was on the big sticker sheet and also in the sticker book. So this one came out of the sticker book. The one that was on the original version of this came out off the big sticker sheet. Just added a few little stickers here and there and some ephemera pieces and that kind of thing. Same thing here, just a couple of the ephemera pieces, which just the normal ephemera pack for this had a ton of stuff in it, like way more than I'm used to seeing. One of the chipboard pieces here. So here's one of our other frames. This is open on, I believe, this side. I meant to leave it open on the top, and I think I went with the side instead. So you can slide a picture in here. Which side did I attach? Hold on. I know one of these does not have anything attached on it. And it's got to be that one. It is. It just does not want to cooperate with me. There we go. So yeah, you can still get a picture in here. And I actually did back all of my frames with acetate in this one just because I think it looks really nice. And you've got a nice big pocket here. Again, I just added some of the ephemera pieces and things here and there throughout the book. There's what that tag page looks like with the tag booklets in there. I've got all of them tucked in except the front one, and those just kind of get a swing right there, which is kind of fun. This one, again, is open actually on the top and the side on this one. And again, I just added, because this was where I had actually cut those mats or cut the flaps too large. The mats were right, the flaps were too large. And rather than pull them out, I just adapted and added some little stickers and things. That's from the border strip, and this is from the little sticker book. And then, of course, here we've got our waterfall with our little 1-inch pieces on the edges. And then we've got another frame here that I don't know which side is open. It is that side. There we go. So you can put one there, and this one is open from, I believe, the side. I just don't know which side. There we go. That side. And then in here I did use another one of the puffy stickers, and then I just layered up some ephemera. So there you go. There is the project. Oh, inserts. There are inserts. Haha, I forgot. They're not matted. But I did, again, use just there's some little round stickers in here. Somewhere. In the sticker book that I've just done the same thing. Backed them against each other. And they make perfect little tabs for your inserts to slide in and out of your book. So I've got them on every page here. And I think I turned that one wrong. No, I didn't. It's got a car on it. Haha, there we go. So there you go. So thanks for watching. If you end up making this project, and I really hope you do, please share it on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations and also on my channel, Scrapping Under the Influence. Thanks for watching.